My cold boyfriend won't stop following me. Chapter 1. Why is the Ice Prince crying? If Northbridge University had an unofficial rulebook, rule number 1 would simply read, do not make eye contact with Lucas Hart. Nobody knew how the rumor started. Some claimed he'd made a senior transfer schools with a single stare. Others insisted he'd never smiled once since enrolling. The bravest students only admired him from a safe distance before quickly pretending to check their phones whenever he walked past. Lucas never helped the rumors. He was absurdly handsome, painfully tall, and always wore the same unreadable expression. Even when professors joked during lectures, his face remained perfectly blank. Naturally, everyone assumed he was terrifying. Adrian Bennett thought they were all ridiculous. Because at exactly 12:30 every afternoon, the so-called Ice Prince waited outside Adrian's lecture hall with a paper bag full of snacks and 2 cups of iced coffee. Today was no different. As soon as Adrian stepped into the corridor, Lucas looked up. His expression barely changed, but his eyes noticeably softened. You came. Adrian laughed. I had class, remember? Lucas gave a tiny nod. I counted. You counted. 107 minutes. Adrian couldn't help smiling. Poor thing. Without hesitation, he reached up and gently ruffled Lucas's perfectly neat black hair. Lucas leaned into the touch so naturally that it was obvious this happened all the time. Again, you want another head pat? A barely visible nod. Chuckling, Adrian obliged. There. Lucas closed his eyes for a brief second, looking far more content than anyone would have believed possible. Hidden around the corner, 3 first-year students stared in complete silence. Did Adrian Bennett just pat Lucas Hart's head? No, he definitely did. And Lucas asked for another one. The paper bag crinkled softly as Lucas held it out. I bought your favorite strawberry sandwich. You remembered? I always remember. Adrian accepted it with a grin before casually slipping his free hand into Lucas's. Let's go eat. Lucas's fingers immediately tightened around his, as though he'd been waiting all morning for that simple gesture. From behind the corner came the unmistakable sound of someone's phone hitting the floor. The entire campus believed Lucas Hart was the coldest man alive. None of them were prepared for what they were about to witness next. The rumors spread faster than a campus fire. By lunchtime, at least 50 students had heard that Adrian Bennett had casually patted Lucas Hart's head and lived. Most of them refused to believe it. There has to be another Lucas. Maybe it was hypnosis. I think we're all hallucinating. Meanwhile, Adrian sat beneath his favorite tree, happily eating the strawberry sandwich Lucas had bought for him. Across from him, Lucas watched with quiet satisfaction. Tastes good. MHM. Thank you. Lucas gave a small nod, looking strangely proud. Adrian had barely finished half of it when his phone buzzed. Lucas, drink some water. Adrian blinked. He looked up. Lucas was sitting less than a meter away. You could have just said that. I did. His phone buzzed again. Lucas, but I also wanted to text you. Adrian laughed so hard, he nearly dropped the sandwich. You really have a texting addiction. Another vibration. Lucas, only when it comes to you. Adrian smiled despite himself and typed back. Adrian, you're impossible. Lucas's phone buzzed. He read the reply, and although his face stayed perfectly straight, the tips of his ears turned faintly pink. Before Adrian could tease him, his own phone vibrated again. Lucas, I miss you. Adrian stared at the message. Lucas, we're literally facing each other. I know. So why are you texting that? Lucas answered without hesitation. Because I wanted written proof. Adrian covered his face, laughing. You are unbelievable. A nearby table had gone completely silent. One student slowly whispered, Is Lucas Hart flirting? Another looked ready to faint. I thought he only communicated through terrifying stares. Ignoring the growing audience, Adrian reached across the table and gently squeezed Lucas's hand. I miss you too. Lucas immediately intertwined their fingers. Good. The corners of Adrian's lips lifted again. Maybe the rest of the university saw an emotionless Ice Prince. But Adrian only saw the sweetest, clingiest boyfriend in the world. And Lucas still had no idea everyone was watching. By the end of the day, Adrian's classmates had reached one conclusion. They needed proof. There is no way Lucas Hart acts like that. He probably threatened everyone into lying. So we're spying? For scientific purposes. The 4 of them quietly followed Adrian after his afternoon lecture, hiding behind pillars and vending machines. They found him exactly where they expected. Lucas was already waiting. The moment Adrian appeared, Lucas walked over and held out a chilled bottle of water. You forgot this. Adrian accepted it with an apologetic smile. I left it in your bag again, didn't I? You did. Thanks. Lucas simply nodded, taking Adrian's backpack before slinging it over his own shoulder as though it weighed nothing. You don't have to carry it. I want to. His classmates exchanged horrified looks. The Ice Prince carries bags. Impossible. As they walked across campus, Adrian suddenly stopped. Lucas. Come here. Lucas obediently stepped closer. Adrian reached up and brushed a tiny leaf from Lucas's dark hair. There. Lucas blinked. Thank you. Then, without warning, he lowered his head slightly. Adrian laughed. You want head pats again? A small nod. You really are addicted. He gently ruffled Lucas's hair. Once. Twice. Lucas actually leaned into the touch, his shoulders relaxing. One more. Adrian couldn't resist. You're too cute. He gave him another soft pat before pinching his cheek. There. Happy. Lucas's lips curved upward. It wasn't a big smile. It lasted barely a second. But it was real. Behind the vending machine, someone's jaw dropped. Did Lucas Hart just smile? No. I saw it. I saw it. Lucas looked at Adrian with quiet affection. Can we go home now? Adrian slipped his hand into Lucas's. Yeah. As they walked away together, Lucas's thumb gently rubbed circles over the back of Adrian's hand. The hidden spectators stood frozen long after the couple disappeared. One freshman slowly pulled out his phone. I'm deleting every bad thing I've ever said about Lucas. Another shook his head in disbelief. The Ice Prince isn't cold. He just saves every bit of warmth for one person. Chapter 2. The Clingiest Boyfriend Alive. The next morning, Adrian arrived on campus carrying exactly one notebook. Lucas noticed immediately. Where's the other one? I forgot it. I'll get it. Before Adrian could stop him, Lucas turned and calmly walked back towards the student apartments. Lucas. He didn't even look back. I'll be 5 minutes. Adrian sighed. My boyfriend. His best friend, Noah, stared. Your boyfriend just walked half the campus because you forgot a notebook. He insists. Does he always do this? Pretty much. Exactly 6 minutes later, Lucas returned. Not only with Adrian's notebook, but also a fresh breakfast sandwich, a carton of orange juice, and a small chocolate milk. You skipped breakfast. Adrian blinked. How do you even know? You yawned 3 times. So, you only do that when you're hungry. Noah slowly turned towards Adrian. That's terrifying. Adrian chuckled. I think it's sweet. Lucas handed everything over before quietly fixing Adrian's slightly crooked collar. There. You fuss too much. I know. And you're not stopping? No. Adrian smiled so brightly that Lucas unconsciously stared for a moment. You're smiling again, Adrian teased. Lucas looked away. I wasn't. You were. No. His ears turned pink. Noah rubbed his temples. I've spent 2 years avoiding Lucas Hart because I thought he'd glare me into another dimension. And turns out he's just hopeless. Lucas glanced at him. I'm not hopeless. You walked across campus for a notebook. He needs his notes. You bought him breakfast. He forgot. You fixed his collar. It bothered me. Noah burst into laughter. I can't believe this. As the three reached Adrian's lecture hall, Lucas stopped outside the door. I'll wait here. You have your own class. I know. Lucas. I can still wait. Adrian stepped closer and gently straightened Lucas's tie this time. Go to class. Lucas looked genuinely conflicted. Will you still be here afterwards? Adrian smiled and squeezed his hand. I promise. Only then did Lucas nod and reluctantly walk away. Students in the hallway watched the entire exchange in stunned silence. One whispered, Did the Ice Prince just ask for reassurance? Lucas did, in fact, go to class. For exactly 12 minutes. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. Lucas, break started early. A second message arrived before Adrian could reply. Lucas, are you eating the sandwich? Adrian smiled. Adrian, I'm in the middle of a lecture. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Lucas, sorry. Lucas, I forgot. 5 seconds later. Lucas, I still miss you. Adrian bit his lip to stop himself from laughing. His phone vibrated again. Lucas, I'll wait outside. The student beside him leaned over. Is that your mom? Adrian whispered. Worse. What? My boyfriend. The student blinked. That's surprisingly adorable. The lecture finally ended an hour later. As soon as Adrian stepped into the corridor, he spotted Lucas standing against the wall, holding 2 cups of iced coffee. Exactly where he'd promised. "You've been here the whole time?" Lucas nodded. 49 minutes. "You counted again?" "I missed you." Adrian laughed, accepting the drink. "You really don't get tired of saying that." "I don't." As they started walking, a girl carrying a stack of books stumbled right in front of Adrian. "Oh." Without thinking, Adrian caught the books before they hit the floor. "Are you okay?" "Why, yes. Thank you." She smiled gratefully while taking them back. Lucas stopped walking. His expression didn't change. Neither did his posture. But Adrian knew that look. "Lucas." A long pause. "She smiled at you." Adrian blinked. "Because I helped her." Another pause. "She smiled for a long time." Realization dawned. "Were you jealous?" Lucas looked away. "Maybe." Adrian couldn't hold back his grin. "You giant baby." He slipped his hand into Lucas's. "I'm still your boyfriend." Lucas immediately intertwined their fingers. "Good." Then, after checking that no one was close enough to hear, he quietly added, "I was worried." Adrian's heart melted. He gently bumped their shoulders together. "You never have to compete with anyone." Lucas finally looked at him. "Promise." "I promise." The faintest smile touched Lucas's lips. Across the courtyard, 3 students witnessed the entire conversation. One slowly covered his face. "The Ice Prince gets jealous over someone saying thank you." Another sighed. "I don't know whether to fear him or envy Adrian." By Friday afternoon, one rumor had completely replaced all the old ones. Lucas' heart wasn't following people. He was following Adrian. Everywhere. Outside lecture halls. At the library entrance. Near the cafe. Even outside the art building. Despite having absolutely no reason to be there. He has to be guarding him. "No. I think he's just waiting." Adrian found Lucas sitting on a bench with 2 bubble teas. "You've been here long?" Lucas checked his watch. 23 minutes. "You know you could have texted me." "I didn't want to interrupt your class." Adrian's smile softened. "You really are too considerate." Lucas silently handed him the drink with less ice. Exactly how Adrian liked it. "You remembered." "I remember everything about you." Adrian felt his cheeks warm. "You keep saying things that'll make me spoil you." "I'd like that." The answer came so quickly that Adrian laughed. "You're honest today." "I always am." As they walked towards the library, Adrian suddenly stopped. "Wait here." Lucas obediently nodded. Adrian disappeared into a nearby bakery and returned a minute later with a small cream bun. "For me." "For the sweetest boyfriend on campus." Lucas blinked. "Me? Who else?" Adrian held the bun to his lips. "Open." Lucas hesitated for half a second before obediently taking a bite. His expression remained calm, but his ears turned bright red. "Tasty." "Very." "The bun or me feeding you?" Lucas looked away. "Both." Adrian laughed so hard he nearly dropped the bag. "You've gotten bolder." "I'm learning." Without thinking, Adrian reached over and wiped a tiny spot of cream from the corner of Lucas's mouth with his thumb. "There." Lucas completely froze. "Adrian." My heart is beating very fast." "I wonder why." Adrian leaned closer with a teasing smile. Lucas gently caught the hand that had touched his face and pressed a soft kiss against the back of it. "I love being spoiled by you." For several seconds, neither of them noticed the crowd gathered near the library doors. Then someone whispered loudly, "Did Lucas Hart just kiss Adrian's hand?" Another student clutched his friend's arm. "The Ice Prince isn't cold. He's just hopelessly in love." Chapter 3. Everyone gets the wrong idea. By Monday morning, the entire university had accepted one fact. Adrian Bennett was being stalked. Anonymous posts flooded the campus forum. Lucas Hart has been seen outside Adrian's classes again. He even waits for him after lectures. Should someone report this? Adrian nearly choked on his coffee while reading them. What are they talking about? Across the table, Lucas tilted his head. "What happened?" "They think you're stalking me." Lucas frowned ever so slightly. "I'm not." "I know. I wait because we're going home together." "I know. I ask first." "I know." Lucas looked genuinely puzzled. "So why are they worried?" Adrian couldn't stop laughing. "I wish I knew." Just then, Noah rushed into the cafeteria with 3 classmates. "There you are." Adrian looked up. "What happened?" Noah lowered his voice dramatically. "Blink twice if you need help." "What?" "We've come to rescue you." Adrian stared. "Rescue me from who?" Noah slowly pointed at Lucas. The terrifying man sitting beside you. Lucas blinked once. I'm eating. Exactly, Noah exclaimed. Look how calm he is. Adrian buried his face in his hands. You guys have this completely backwards. One classmate whispered, Don't worry, Adrian. We'll distract him while you run. Lucas looked at Adrian. Does he want you to leave? No, I don't. Lucas relaxed immediately. Good. Noah watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. See? He's manipulating you. Adrian sighed before standing. Fine. He walked around the table, stopped beside Lucas, and gently cupped his boyfriend's face. Then, right in front of everyone, he kissed Lucas's forehead. There. Lucas's ears turned pink instantly. Again, the entire table froze. Adrian chuckled. You want another one? A tiny nod. He kissed Lucas's forehead a second time. Happy. Lucas leaned forward until their shoulders touched. Very. Silence filled the cafeteria. One of Noah's friends slowly looked at him. I think we've misunderstood the situation. Noah stared at the couple for several long seconds. Then he sighed. I don't think Adrian needs rescuing. Another student nodded weakly. No, I think Lucas does. Noah refused to admit he was wrong. There has to be something we're missing. So, after lunch, he recruited 3 classmates for what he proudly called an investigation. Their mission? Observe Lucas' heart without being noticed. Adrian and Lucas, completely unaware, wandered towards the campus cafe. I'm hungry, Adrian said. Lucas immediately answered, I packed snacks. You packed snacks? For you. Lucas unzipped his backpack. Inside were neatly arranged sandwiches, fruit, juice, and Adrian's favorite biscuits. Noah stared from behind a pillar. He's carrying a lunchbox. One classmate whispered, maybe it's poison. Adrian took a bite of a sandwich. It's delicious. I made it this morning, Lucas said quietly. You cooked before class? You said you liked homemade food. Adrian's smile softened. I really do. Lucas looked relieved. I'm glad. As they sat down, Adrian reached for a bottle of juice. Before he could open it, Lucas had already twisted the cap loose and handed it back. Thanks. A few minutes later, Adrian frowned at the fish in his lunch. There are too many bones. I'll do it. Lucas carefully separated every tiny bone before placing the clean pieces onto Adrian's plate. There. You spoil me too much. I like spoiling you. Behind the pillar, Noah rubbed his eyes. Is this real? It gets worse, another classmate whispered. Adrian had dropped his napkin. Before he could bend down, Lucas picked it up, wiped the table, and placed a fresh napkin beside his tray. You missed a spot. Adrian laughed. What would I do without you? Lucas answered without hesitation. I'd rather you never find out. For the first time that day, everyone watching fell completely silent. There wasn't a trace of fear between them. Only quiet affection. Noah slowly lowered the notebook he'd been using to record evidence. I've solved the mystery. His friends looked at him expectantly. Lucas gently brushed a breadcrumb from Adrian's cheek before smiling ever so slightly. Noah sighed. The Ice Prince isn't Adrian's bodyguard. He isn't. No. He acts more like Adrian's husband already. The annual film club hosted an outdoor movie night every semester. This year's choice was a horror film. You picked this on purpose, Adrian said as they found 2 seats near the back. Lucas sat beside him, expression as calm as ever. You said you wanted to watch it. I did. Around them, students whispered. Lucas' heart doesn't even look nervous. He probably watches horror movies to relax. Adrian hid a smile. They clearly didn't know his boyfriend. The lights dimmed. The film began. For the first 20 minutes, Lucas didn't react at all. Then the monster suddenly appeared with a deafening scream. Adrian felt someone grab his sleeve. He turned. Lucas was staring at the screen with the same blank face, while gripping Adrian's arm with surprising strength. Lucas, I'm fine. Another jump scare exploded across the screen. Lucas flinched, very slightly. Then, without a word, he shifted closer until their shoulders touched. Adrian bit his lip. Weren't you the one who wanted to watch this? I wanted to watch it with you. So you're scared. I'm cautious. Adrian laughed quietly. That's a yes. Lucas didn't argue. Instead, he carefully reached for Adrian's hand beneath the shared blanket. May I? You never have to ask. Their fingers intertwined. A few rows behind them, Noah nearly inhaled his popcorn. He really is scared. His friend whispered. Keep watching. Another terrifying scene filled the screen. Lucas instinctively leaned against Adrian. Adrian smiled, wrapped an arm around his shoulders, and gently rubbed his back. It's only a movie. I know. Feeling better? Much. The monster let out another terrifying roar. Lucas closed his eyes for a second. Adrian chuckled and kissed the top of his head. There. Monster defeated. Lucas looked up at him. You're making fun of me. A little. I'll allow it. When the film finally ended, students filed out still discussing the movie. One freshman shook his head in disbelief. I spent a year thinking Lucas Hart was the scariest person on campus. His friend laughed. And now, I think he'd lose a fight against a horror movie. Walking ahead of them, Lucas quietly slipped his hand into Adrian's again. I'm choosing the next movie. Adrian grinned. Please make it a romantic comedy.
This story is brought to you by Smiles That Linger. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Now let's dive right back in.
Chapter 4. Spoiling him is my hobby. Adrian discovered Lucas had a very unusual hobby by complete accident. It happened on a Wednesday. I forgot my charger, Adrian muttered outside the library. I have one. Lucas calmly reached into his backpack. Instead of finding a charger, Adrian found 3 neatly wrapped gift boxes. He blinked. Lucas. Lucas froze. Yes. What are these? After a long pause, Lucas quietly answered. They're for you. All 3. A small nod. Adrian carefully opened the first box. Inside was a tiny rabbit keychain. It's because you always smile when you see rabbits, Lucas explained. The second contained a notebook with tiny stars on the cover. You said your old one was almost full. The third held a soft blue scarf. I thought you'd look nice wearing it. Adrian stared at the gifts before looking back at Lucas. How long have you been carrying these around? For days. Why didn't you give them to me? Lucas looked down. I couldn't decide which day would make you happiest. Adrian's heart melted. You've been overthinking gifts? I wanted it to be perfect. Without another word, Adrian stepped forward and wrapped both arms around Lucas's waist. Lucas immediately hugged him back. Thank you. I haven't even given them to you properly yet. You already did. Lucas rested his chin lightly on Adrian's head. I'm glad you like them. I love them. Nearby, Noah had witnessed everything while buying coffee. He walked over with an expression of complete disbelief. Lucas. Lucas looked up. Yes. How many surprise gifts have you bought Adrian this month? Lucas thought for a moment. 9. No. 10, if flowers count. Noah slowly turned to Adrian. And what have you bought him? Adrian smiled. My love and affection. Lucas answered before Noah could. I got the better deal. Noah threw his hands into the air. I've officially given up. As he walked away, he muttered to himself. I don't know who's more hopeless anymore. Behind him, Adrian slipped the rabbit keychain onto his bag. Lucas noticed immediately. His ears turned pink. You used it. Of course. It suits you. Adrian smiled. So does being my boyfriend. The campus library was unusually quiet. Adrian and Lucas sat across from each other, pretending to study. Pretending. Because every few minutes, Adrian caught Lucas looking at him. What? Lucas immediately lowered his eyes. Nothing. You've been staring. I like looking at you. Adrian laughed softly. You're too honest. A few minutes later, Adrian noticed Lucas rubbing the back of his neck. You skipped lunch again. I wasn't hungry. Liar. Lucas fell silent. Adrian closed his textbook. Come with me. He led Lucas to an empty study room and shut the door behind them. Lucas blinked. Adrian, sit. Without question, Lucas obeyed. Adrian placed a takeaway box on the table. I bought your favorite chicken rice. Lucas looked surprised. You bought this for me? You spoil me every day. Adrian opened the box, picked up a spoonful, and held it out. So today, let me spoil you. For a second, Lucas simply stared. Then he opened his mouth obediently. Good. Lucas nodded. Very. Adrian smiled. See? Eating isn't that hard. Lucas watched him quietly. I like it more because you're feeding me. You really know how to make my heart race. It wasn't intentional. I know. After a few more bites, Adrian noticed a grain of rice stuck near the corner of Lucas's lips. Without thinking, he reached over and brushed it away with his thumb. There. Lucas froze. His breathing hitched ever so slightly. Adrian. You're very close. I am. Neither of them moved. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Adrian gently straightened Lucas's slightly crooked tie. You always fix mine. I thought it was only fair. Lucas's cheeks slowly turned pink. You'll spoil me. That's the plan. A quiet laugh escaped Lucas. It was small but real. Unable to resist, Adrian leaned forward and placed a slow, gentle kiss on his lips. When they finally pulled apart, Lucas rested his forehead against Adrian's. "Can I have one more?" Adrian smiled. "You never have to ask." Their second kiss was just as soft, lingering only a moment before they both laughed. Outside the study room, two students stood frozen. One whispered, "The Ice Prince smiles when Adrian kisses him." The other sighed dreamily, "I want a relationship like theirs." 2 days later, Adrian received an unusual phone call. It was Lucas's roommate. "Can you come back to the dorm?" Adrian's smile faded. "Did something happen?" "Lucas has a fever." Adrian arrived less than 15 minutes later. Lucas was sitting on his bed with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders, looking as expressionless as ever. Only his slightly flushed cheeks gave him away. "You idiot," Adrian sighed, walking over. "I told you to rest when you started coughing." "I'm okay." Adrian pressed a hand against Lucas's forehead. "You're burning up." Lucas leaned into the cool touch without thinking. "Your hand feels nice." Adrian couldn't stay annoyed. He fetched medicine, poured a glass of water, and sat beside him. "Open." Lucas obediently swallowed the tablets. "Good." A few minutes later, Adrian noticed Lucas trying to sit up. "What are you doing?" "I need to make dinner for you." Adrian gently pushed him back onto the pillow. "Absolutely not. But you'll be hungry. I'll order food." "I wanted to cook." Adrian smiled helplessly. "You can spoil me after you're healthy." Lucas looked disappointed. "Promise." "I promise." Satisfied, Lucas finally relaxed. As the medicine began to work, his eyelids grew heavy. Half asleep, he reached for Adrian's hand. Adrian immediately intertwined their fingers. "I'm here." Lucas's grip tightened slightly. "Don't go." "I wasn't planning to. I like waking up and seeing you." Adrian's heart softened. "You will." Within minutes, Lucas drifted asleep. Even then, he refused to let go of Adrian's hand. Nearly an hour later, Noah quietly peeked into the room. He stopped at the doorway. Adrian was reading with one hand, while the other remained trapped in Lucas's gentle grip. "You've been sitting there this whole time?" Noah whispered. Adrian smiled. "He won't let go." Almost as if he had heard them, Lucas sleepily mumbled, "Mine." Noah covered his mouth to stop himself from laughing. "I can't believe the scariest guy on campus turns into this when he's ill." Adrian carefully brushed Lucas's fringe away from his forehead. "Don't tell him later." Noah grinned. "My lips are sealed." Neither of them noticed the tiny smile that appeared on Lucas's sleeping face. Chapter 5. The Boyfriend Everyone Wants. Lucas recovered quickly. Unfortunately for him, so did the university's curiosity. By the following week, everyone knew the truth. The feared Ice Prince wasn't cold. He was simply hopelessly devoted to Adrian. The campus forum exploded. "Where can I find a boyfriend like Lucas? Does he have a brother? Is clinginess actually attractive?" Adrian couldn't stop laughing as he scrolled through the posts. "You've become famous." Lucas glanced at his phone. "I don't understand." "They think you're the perfect boyfriend." Lucas looked genuinely confused. "I only do normal things." Adrian smiled. "Waiting outside my classes isn't normal. I like seeing you first. You remember every meal I eat. I don't want you to skip one. You buy me gifts every week. They remind me of you." Adrian reached over and squeezed his hand. "See? That's exactly why they like you." Just then, two nervous first-year students approached. "Excuse us." Adrian looked up. "Hi." One of them took a deep breath. "Can we ask your boyfriend a question?" Lucas nodded politely. "What is it?" The student hesitated. "How do you become such a good boyfriend?" Lucas answered without thinking. "I pay attention." They blinked. "If Adrian says he likes something, I remember it. If he's tired, I carry his bag. If he's sad, I stay beside him. If he's happy, I'm happy." The courtyard fell silent. Even Adrian wasn't expecting such a simple answer. He smiled so brightly that Lucas couldn't look away. "You're staring again," Adrian teased. "I know. You always do. I like memorizing your smile." Adrian felt his face grow warm. Without caring about the curious crowd, he stepped closer and kissed Lucas's cheek. "You make it impossible not to fall in love with you every day." Lucas's ears immediately turned pink. "Good." The first years stared at each other. One sighed dramatically. "I've learned something important today." His friend nodded. "We're all single because no one can compete with Lucas' heart." Noah decided the campus needed an experiment. During lunch, he stood on a bench and announced, Today's challenge. Lucas Hart must stay away from Adrian for 10 minutes. The courtyard erupted with cheers. Adrian laughed. Who came up with this? I did, Noah said proudly. If Lucas is really as clingy as everyone says, he'll fail. Lucas looked at Adrian. Do I have to? Adrian smiled. Let's try. A timer started. 10 minutes begins now. Adrian walked towards the library with Noah while Lucas remained in the courtyard. 30 seconds passed. Lucas folded his arms. 1 minute. He checked his phone. 2 minutes. He sighed quietly. 3 minutes. He stood up. The crowd immediately followed him. He's moving. He already lost. Lucas found Adrian browsing the bookshelves. Adrian looked up, amused. Weren't you supposed to stay away? I tried. For 3 whole minutes. Lucas nodded seriously. It was difficult. Noah arrived moments later, panting. You failed. I know. You don't even look ashamed. Lucas calmly walked over to Adrian. I missed him. The simplicity of the answer made several students groan. That's not fair. Adrian laughed and reached for Lucas's hand. You really couldn't wait? Lucas intertwined their fingers. No. So stubborn. I prefer devoted. Adrian's smile widened. I can't even argue with that. Noah pinched the bridge of his nose. Fine. New challenge. What now? Adrian asked. No holding hands for 5 minutes. Lucas immediately looked at Adrian. Must we? Adrian chuckled. I think Noah enjoys torturing you. I don't. Noah started another timer. Lucas obediently let go. Exactly 4 seconds later, Adrian felt something brush against his sleeve. Lucas had hooked the little finger of his free hand around Adrian's. Technically, they weren't holding hands. Adrian burst into laughter. Lucas, you said no holding hands. This isn't. Our hands aren't together. Noah stared in disbelief. You're exploiting a loophole. Lucas tilted his head. I followed the rules. The students around them erupted into laughter. Noah sighed dramatically. I surrender. Adrian gently tightened his little finger around Lucas's. I think you win. Lucas's expression remained calm, but his eyes softened. I already did. I have you. The rooftop was Adrian's favorite place on campus. It was quiet, peaceful, and just high enough to watch the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Lucas was already waiting when Adrian arrived. You beat me here. I wanted to. Adrian walked over and stood beside him at the railing. For a while, neither of them spoke. They simply enjoyed the cool evening breeze. It's beautiful, Adrian murmured. Lucas wasn't looking at the sunset. I know. Adrian smiled. You aren't even looking. I am. No, you're staring at me. I prefer this view. Adrian laughed, feeling warmth spread across his cheeks. You've become incredibly smooth. I've been practicing. Oh, I write compliments for you. You do? Lucas nodded. In my notes. Adrian stared at him. You actually keep a list? So I don't forget any. Unable to resist, Adrian stepped closer until only a few inches separated them. Lucas. You're unfairly adorable. Lucas reached up and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind Adrian's ear. So are you. The breeze grew colder. Without a word, Lucas slipped off his light jacket and draped it over Adrian's shoulders. What about you? I don't mind the cold. You'll catch another fever. I'm stronger now. Adrian shook his head and pulled Lucas closer instead, wrapping half the jacket around both of them. There. Lucas looked at him with quiet affection. We're sharing. Exactly. A comfortable silence settled between them. Then Lucas lifted Adrian's hand and pressed a tender kiss against his knuckles. I've been thinking. About what? I fall in love with you every day. Adrian's heart skipped. That's a dangerous thing to say. Why? Because it'll make me kiss you. Please do. Laughing softly, Adrian cupped Lucas's face and kissed him. Slowly, sweetly. When they finally pulled apart, Lucas rested his forehead against Adrian's. I'll never get tired of this. Neither will I. Below the rooftop, a group of students happened to glance upward. One nudged another. Look. The pair stood wrapped in one jacket, smiling as if they were the only 2 people in the world. The student sighed. The Ice Prince looks happiest whenever Adrian is beside him. Chapter 6. My cold boyfriend loves me too much. By the final month of the semester, the entire campus had accepted one truth. If Adrian Bennett was somewhere, Lucas Hart wouldn't be far behind. So when a nervous second year approached Adrian outside the science building holding a bouquet of flowers, dozens of students slowed down to watch. I like you. The student stammered. Would you go out with me? Adrian smiled apologetically. I'm really flattered, but I already have a boyfriend. I know. The student scratched the back of his neck. My friends dared me to ask anyway. Before Adrian could respond, a familiar voice spoke behind him. Adrian. Lucas had arrived. His face was as unreadable as ever, making the poor student visibly pale. I wasn't trying to steal him. Lucas looked at the flowers. Then at Adrian. Did he make you uncomfortable? Adrian gently shook his head. No. He was very polite. Lucas relaxed immediately. Good. The student blinked. That's it. Lucas nodded. He respected Adrian's answer. There was a long, awkward silence. Then Lucas quietly turned to Adrian. May I hug my boyfriend now? Adrian laughed so hard, he almost doubled over. You've been waiting to ask that? I didn't want to interrupt. You absolutely may. The moment Adrian opened his arms, Lucas stepped forward and wrapped him in a warm embrace. He even rested his chin lightly on Adrian's shoulder. I missed you. We had breakfast together. That was hours ago. It was too long. The rejected student watched the exchange before bursting into laughter. I've never lost to someone so adorable. Adrian smiled at him. Thanks for understanding. No problem. As he walked away, he called over his shoulder. Take good care of your clingy boyfriend. I will. Adrian replied. Lucas looked up. I'm clingy. Adrian gently pinched his cheek. The clingiest. Lucas thought for a moment. Only because you're worth following. Several students nearby sighed at exactly the same time. Someone muttered, Can they stop being so ridiculously cute? Another shook his head with a smile. They're making the rest of us look single on purpose. Graduation week arrived sooner than either of them expected. The campus buzzed with students taking photos, signing yearbooks, and promising to stay in touch. Adrian had barely stepped outside the auditorium before Lucas appeared beside him. I've been looking for you. Adrian chuckled. You've been gone for 3 minutes. I know. You timed it. I always do. Adrian shook his head, smiling. I don't know what I'm going to do after graduation. Lucas looked at him. You'll still see me every day. I know. I'll make sure of it. You sound very confident. I already accepted a job near yours. Adrian blinked. You what? I wanted our lunch breaks together. His heart skipped a beat. You planned that. Lucas nodded. I checked the distance. How far apart are the offices? For minutes. Adrian laughed. Only you would measure that. I wanted to walk you to work. Before Adrian could answer, Noah wandered over carrying a stack of graduation robes. I should have guessed I'd find you two together. Lucas answered calmly. We usually are. Noah rolled his eyes. That wasn't a compliment. It sounded like one. Adrian burst into laughter. Noah handed them their robes. Go get changed. The photographer's waiting. A few minutes later, the two stepped onto the lawn. The photographer smiled. Stand a little closer. They did. A little closer. Lucas immediately wrapped an arm around Adrian's waist. The photographer grinned. Perfect. Now smile. Adrian smiled brightly. Lucas looked at Adrian. And smiled too. The camera clicked. Everyone nearby froze. The ice prince smiled. I got it on camera. The photographer stared at the preview, amazed. I've taken hundreds of graduation photos. But that's the happiest smile I've seen all day. Lucas quietly looked at Adrian again. I wasn't smiling for the camera. Adrian tilted his head. No, I was smiling because you were looking at me. Adrian's ears warmed. You keep saying embarrassing things. They're true. Noah sighed dramatically. Can you two save some romance for the rest of society? They simply laughed, walking away hand in hand, completely forgetting everyone else was still watching. The graduation ceremony ended beneath a sky of brilliant blue. Families gathered for photos while graduates laughed, hugged, and promised not to become strangers. Adrian slipped away to the quiet courtyard where he and Lucas had first eaten lunch together. A minute later, familiar footsteps approached. I knew you'd be here, Lucas said. You always do. Lucas smiled faintly. I know all your favorite places. Adrian looked around the peaceful courtyard. It feels strange. What does? We're really graduating. Lucas reached for his hand. We're not saying goodbye. I know. We're just starting the next chapter. Adrian squeezed his hand. When did you become so good with words? I've had a good teacher. Oh, you. Adrian laughed before pulling Lucas into a hug. I'm going to miss seeing you waiting outside my classroom. I can wait outside your office instead. You really planned everything. I planned our future. There wasn't the slightest hesitation in Lucas's voice. I want to wake up beside you, eat every meal with you, walk home with you, and remind you every day that you're loved. Adrian felt his eyes sting. You know, I never cared that everyone thought you were cold. I know. They only saw your face. I only saw your heart. Lucas gently cupped Adrian's cheek. Thank you for never being afraid of me. Adrian leaned into his touch. There was never anything to fear. Just the sweetest man I've ever met. Lucas closed the distance between them, kissing Adrian slowly and tenderly. When they finally parted, their foreheads rested together. I love you, Lucas whispered. I love you more. You always say that. Because it's always true. They shared another quiet laugh. Across the courtyard, Noah spotted them and smiled to himself. They're still in their own little world. A classmate nodded. And I don't think they'll ever leave it. Hand in hand, Adrian and Lucas walked through the university gates one last time. To everyone else, Lucas' heart would always be the emotionless ice prince. But to Adrian, he would forever be the hopelessly clingy boyfriend who texted too much, worried too much, loved too much, and never once stopped following the person who had become his entire world. Epilogue. Before he couldn't stop following me. Lucas' heart wasn't interested in orientation. The speeches were too long. The campus tour was too crowded. He stood beneath a tree, waiting for the event to end. Then he heard laughter. Bright, warm, impossible to ignore. He looked up and saw a boy kneeling beside a nervous freshman. Don't worry, the boy said with a grin. I got lost 3 times already. Come on, I'll show you the registration hall. The freshman's anxious expression melted into relief. Lucas couldn't look away. Who's that? His friend, Ethan asked. Lucas quietly read the name on the boy's orientation badge. Adrian Bennett. Huh. Lucas didn't answer. He simply watched Adrian wave goodbye to the freshman before hurrying off with the same cheerful smile. Something in Lucas's chest tightened. For the first time in years, he wanted to know someone. His friends followed his gaze. Why are you staring at him like that? Lucas answered honestly. He's beautiful. His friends nearly choked. What? Lucas didn't repeat himself. That evening, he opened a brand new notebook. On the first page, he wrote only 2 words. Adrian Bennett. Underneath, he hesitated before adding another line. Smiles beautifully. He stared at the page for a long moment before quietly closing the notebook. The next morning, Lucas arrived on campus 20 minutes earlier than usual. Not because he had class, but because, if he was lucky, he might get to see Adrian smile again. Seeing Adrian once should have been enough. It wasn't. Lucas soon discovered Adrian always bought a strawberry sandwich on Fridays. He preferred iced coffee with little sugar. He thanked cafeteria staff by name. He smiled at every stray cat on campus. Lucas remembered every detail. Talking to him, however, was another matter. At least 5 times, Lucas walked towards Adrian. 5 times, he turned around before saying a word. His friends watched in disbelief. You've been standing there for 10 minutes. I know. So go say hello. Lucas looked at Adrian, who was laughing with Noah beneath a tree. What if I bother him? His friend stared. The feared Lucas' heart was nervous. A week later, Lucas finally gathered enough courage to approach. Hi, Adrian said first, smiling politely. Lucas's mind went completely blank. He had practiced an introduction all morning. Every single word disappeared. After several painfully silent seconds, he gave a tiny nod and walked away. Adrian blinked. That was strange. From a distance, Lucas buried his face in his hands. I failed. His friend sighed. You didn't even speak. I forgot how. The following day, Lucas bought an extra strawberry sandwich. He carried it around campus for hours. Every time he found Adrian, he lost his courage again. By evening, the sandwich was slightly squashed. Lucas looked at it before quietly eating it himself. I'll try again tomorrow. Little did he know, Adrian had already started noticing the tall, handsome senior who always seemed to appear wherever he was, and always looked like he wanted to say something. After 2 weeks of accidentally seeing the same tall stranger everywhere, Adrian finally decided to do something about it. He walked straight up to Lucas with his usual bright smile. Hi. Lucas froze. I think we've been following each other around campus. I've been following you. The honest answer made Adrian laugh. I figured. Lucas's heart pounded. I wanted to introduce myself. So why didn't you? I got nervous. Adrian blinked. The famous Lucas Hart gets nervous? Lucas nodded. When it's you. Adrian felt his cheeks warm. Well, I'm Adrian. I know. You know? I noticed your orientation badge. Adrian laughed again. You're unexpectedly cute. Lucas's carefully rehearsed speech vanished. Every thoughtful sentence disappeared from his mind. The only thing left was the truth. Would you like to be my boyfriend? Silence. Then Adrian burst into laughter, covering his mouth. That's your first proper sentence to me? Lucas lowered his head. I had a longer speech. What happened to it? I forgot. Adrian laughed so hard his eyes watered. You really are adorable. Lucas looked up hopefully. Is that a yes? Instead of answering with words, Adrian stepped closer and kissed his cheek. Yes. Lucas touched the spot he'd kissed, completely stunned. Really? Really? A smile, small but unmistakably genuine, appeared on Lucas's face. He shyly reached for Adrian's hand. Can I keep following you? Adrian intertwined their fingers with his. You don't have to follow me anymore. Lucas tilted his head. Why? Because from now on, we're walking the same path together. And from that day onward, the entire university believed Lucas Hart was the coldest man on campus. Only Adrian knew the truth. His boyfriend had simply fallen in love so completely that he never wanted to let go.
And that brings us to the end of the story. This is Smiles That Linger, where every story leaves something behind. The story may be over, but the smile doesn't have to be. Until next time, let it linger. And if this story brought a smile to your face, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Thank you for listening.